So good morning, everyone. So again, as usual, we'll start with the motivations. And for that, before that, we'll try to quiet our mind. So just try to make yourself comfortable and relax as much as you can. And watch the breath mindfully. Then we can try to think, reflect, contemplate. Unless we deal and work with our mind, and to be able to find some sense of inner contentment and good heart and wisdom, it will be extremely difficult to have a more peaceful, happy life. No matter what the external conditions are. On the other hand, by training our mind, if we can cultivate certain level of contentment in our life, good heart and wisdom, even though sometimes externally not so great and challenging, but we can still find our life much more happier and peaceful. Therefore, training the mind becomes extremely crucial for our own peace, happiness, well-being, as well as for peace, happiness, and well-being of people around us, our families, and the world that we live in. And for that, we have to train by practicing through studying, reflecting on the meaning that we have studied, and contemplate and meditate. And that is why we have gathered here together today. With the hope that it can encourage us, inspire us to train our mind, or remind us to train the mind. And may us coming here together become cause and conditions to become more enlightened, more wise, more kind, and eventually to achieve fully enlightened state, so we can be more and greater help and benefit to each and every sentient beings, according to the best need of individual with a skillful means. And may we always be helpful and beneficial to others through our body, speech, and mind as much as possible. Or at least, may we never hurt and harm others intentionally. Okay, so I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soge sonam da, changjo bado dane, dagi shushe gibe sonam ke, dola penje sangye doba, sangye chodang soge sonam da, changjo bado dane, dagi shushe gibe sonam ke, dola penje sangye doba. Again, good morning, and thank you for joining today morning. And we have been on the Sunday morning. We have been discussing about the stages of path to enlightenment, and within that, we have finished discussing about the practice of initial or small scope, as well as the middle scope, and now we are on the practice on a great scope or great capacity, and we have been, in order to discuss the subject that we are discussing, the stages to path, the stage of path to enlightenment. Of course, there are so many different, texts, books, and we have been using one particular, as a reference, we have been using this one particular prayer from Lama Choba or Guru Yoga, and in terms of the verse number, we are in verse number 92 today. So we finished 91 up to last week, and we are on 92 today. And so up to last week, what we discussed was, having understood that samsara is the nature of samsara is painful and sufferings, in so many different ways, and then cultivating a strong wish or longing to free from the samsara and the cause of samsara, and longing and wishing for the total liberation, nirvana, and having understood that, then engage in the practice that lead to the total liberation, nirvana, the practice of three higher training that we discussed last time. And by having practiced three higher training as the path to free and liberate from the samsara and the suffering and the cause of samsara, and to achieve liberation, nirvana, even we achieve such a individual liberation, nirvana, if other sentient beings who has been our precious mothers and so forth many times, if they are suffering and even we have freedom, how can that really be happy about it? Even I have no problems, even everything is just with me, fine with me, but if my children, if my parent, if my friend, they all are suffering, how can we ignore that? How can we not think about them and just be okay with our own individual happiness? That doesn't seem right and correct, not only from spiritual point of view, even from ordinary point of view. How can we become so selfish? Thinking that as long as I'm fine, it doesn't matter what happens to my children, what happens to my friend, what happens to my partner, what happens to my parents, and all other sentient beings. And so therefore, we should develop a sense of concern, sense of, concern towards the well-being of not only oneself, but all other sentient beings surrounding us. All other sentient beings, we should develop some sense of concern, love, compassion, some sense of responsibility to work for the well-being of not just oneself, but all sentient beings. To cultivate the good heart, And it is, if we look around the world, is the due to lack of that good heart, whether you call it loving kindness, compassion, sense of responsibility, concern, is due to lack of the such good heart that we see so much pain and suffering in this world. Even though so much of pain and suffering that is being experienced by so many beings in this world, that they do not need to experience many of those sufferings, but that we experience due to the lack of good heart. Due to the lack of good heart, but the leaderships, the people who make policies. But also we cannot just blame the leaders and those people who make the policy. We are equally responsible as well. Because they have certain power, of course, it affects much more than those who have less power. But, if we don't have that sense of good heart, sense of love, compassion, sense of concern for others' well-being, sense of care for others' well-being, we are equally in the same category. The only difference is they have the power and we don't have the power. So therefore, we can't always just blame them, but instead we have to also take responsibility ourselves, so that when we do get some responsibility as a leadership, whether it is within the family or whether it is within a small community, whether it's Dharma community or another community that we are part of, that's so that we can lead that community with a sense of love, compassion, and responsibility. And so therefore, and even sometimes, even we are not a leader of any particular community, but still, we still interact with our families, friends, and, co-workers. And we meet a lot of people in our life, strangers. And when we meet them, when we interact with them, how can we interact with sense of more love, compassion, concerns, understanding? It is so crucial. It's so crucial. Sometimes we always blame others, the leaders, and those, but we don't take the responsibility. How am I trying to be more myself? Am I trying to change my own attitude, my own beings? Am I trying to be more compassionate, more understanding, taking more responsibility or not? Am I contributing towards the well-being of the others, directly, indirectly? It's very important to contemplate, reflect. Lot of time we seem to point fingers to others all the time, but we don't really kind of reflect on ourselves. What about myself? Yes, I can point a finger for others, for them not being not so compassionate, not kind. But what about myself? But what about myself? It is an important question to ask time to time. Because sometimes it's so easy for us to point the fingers to others whenever there is some problem. All the time. But we hardly ask that question for us. But what about myself? What am I doing? What am I doing? How's my attitude? So by questioning ourselves, then we begin to kind of, think ourselves. And then the needs to understand the need to improve my own state of mind, my own attitude, my own mind. The need to develop more love, more compassion, more understanding, more forgiveness. Once we understand that I need to work with my own mind to develop, more forgiveness when someone make mistake, to develop to be able to have a better understanding when someone have different opinion and view than myself, understanding them better. And through that better understanding and forgiveness, that we try to cultivate more love and compassion, not only to those who agree with our views, our opinion, but also for those who have opposing view and view, ideas, policies, and thereby we can heal ourselves. We create a space to other to heal, and therefore, for as a society that we can grow with that more more understanding with each other, being more kind with each other, you know. We don't have to have so much bad feeling, ill will feeling, um, you know, so much anger just because we are in different side of the directions in terms of our policy, in terms of our view, in terms of our ideas. You know, the countries, not only this country, the world as in general, you know, is becoming a little bit less and less. It is becoming, you know, it at least it feel like it is becoming kind of, you know, more and more, a little bit kind of aggressive and a little bit unkind and more divided, and due to so many things, and especially in difficult times like now, um, because everyone is going through a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties. Um, in those times, you know, it's so important to have, you know, of course we can have different view. There's no idea, there's no doubt about that. We can have different view. We can have different ideas in every issues, but we don't have to feel so bad, so angry, and so, you know, ill will feeling towards each others. That is not the way to heal ourselves and heal the country, heal the world. Even I'm standing for a good cause, if I'm coming from, even I'm, you know, standing, even I'm fighting for a good cause, but if it's coming from anger and hatred, there's no way to heal it. There's no way to heal. And that is what is happening now all over the world. You know, it's so important, you know. And then when there's so much anger and hatred towards each side, the other side become even more you know, then it make them more stubborn. It make them more stubborn. And then it make them to go more extreme, because they feel they have nothing to lose now. But when there's the love and compassion from the other side, they don't want to lose that love and compassion, someone who like you. And so there is something to lose, so they are more, there's more chance for them to be more, you know, more, they will be more willing to compromise, more willing to listen, more willing to discuss frankly. But once someone feel, you know, you are so much disliked by the others, and you are so much disliked, you are, you feel like they are putting you down so much, belittling you, because saying you are ignorant, you are selfish, all of that, then that makes them even more angry, because they feel they have been put down, humiliated, and then they become more and more extreme. That is where it goes, you know. So sometimes we can easily say the other side's extreme, so and so forth, unkindness, but sometimes we also contribute towards that, because sometimes due to lack of compassion, due to lack of understanding, due to lack of kindness, we tend to put them down, look them down. That push them more further and further. That make them more angry and angry. That make them to go more extreme and more extreme. so, so important to have developed this good heart. To, of course, it is easy for us to have love, compassion, sense of responsibility, concern, and kindness to our near one, dear one. It is easy. We don't have to put so much effort. It comes naturally. But it's more difficult to those who are on opposite side in terms of view, opinion, and so forth. And that is where our practice, that is where we have to practice. That is where the practice need to be developed. That is where we have to work harder. That is where we have to work harder with our mind to develop that. I don't have to work so hard to develop love, compassion to my parent, my close friends. It's just coming naturally. It's just come. I don't have to work so hard, but I need to work more harder to feel that same way to strangers, and especially those who have a very different, opposite view of my views, my opinion, and so forth in every issues. I think we have to be reminded that so all the time. That is the only way that we can heal ourselves, so that we don't have so much anger and hatred ourselves to certain individuals, certain group. Thereby we heal ourselves. And also we create a space for others to heal. Once they feel your love and compassion, despite their different opinion, despite their different view, once they feel the love, compassion, sense of concern, care, forgiveness, they will start to heal themselves. And then through that we heal, whether it's the family, whether it's the community, the society, the country, the world that we live in. So here, of course, in terms of good heart, then there can be many different levels of good heart, And here we are talking about highest level of good heart, the bodhicitta mind. Okay, so that is where, the good heart, within the good heart, there can be many different layers and different level of good heart. And so here we are talking about very high level of good heart of the bodhisattvas, the bodhicitta mind, of the awakening mind of the bodhicitta. And so that is where the verse number, so first maybe let me read the verse number 92. The mind that cherished mothers, no, I think, yeah. Is that the no? I think maybe. No, I'm sorry. I think I was confused. So I think maybe I need more meditation myself. To clear my mind that from confusions. So, what can you expect from me? I'm supposed to clear your confusion, but I think I'm creating more confusions. So I guess maybe you came in the wrong place, If you came to clear some confusions, then maybe you might have come in the wrong place, Here I'm to create more confusion because I myself is confused. It's a verse number 89, sorry. Okay? 89. Verse number 89. So last time we finished 88. So with the 89, have you considered how all those miserable beings have been my mothers and have raised me with the kindness again and again? Not only one time, but many times, again and again, I seek your blessings to develop effortless compassions like that of loving mother for her precious child. So here we are talking about cultivating the highest level of the good heart of the Bodhicitta mind. And there's certain different meditation practice method to develop that bodhicitta mind. And you find in most of the classical Buddhist teachings, mainly two method. One method we call 7 point of cause and effect, seven point of cause and effect to develop the bodhicitta mind. And another method is equalizing and exchanging self with others. There are two particular methods. And then in some teachers, they try to combine those two methods together, and then it become 13 points. But here in these verses, here the teachings is talking about the 7 point of cause and effect. 7 point of cause and effect. Through that, then we try to develop the bodhicitta mind. In this 7 point of cause and effect method, first is recognizing all sentient beings have been your most kind and precious mother. And to understand that, then we need to have understanding of many lifetimes, which we already discussed quite many weeks ago, okay? So if there is a life after life, rebirth after rebirth, reincarnation after reincarnation, then of course, then our life will be countless, beginningless, countless. And when we have this countless beings in lifetime, each time we take a life, whether as a human beings, as a animals and other beings, then especially when we have, then we depend on the mothers, the parent, and of course, both parents, and especially the mothers. In generally speaking, especially in generally, the kindness of mother is even more than the father. Maybe some of us, maybe some of the men, maybe you might not agree. But to start with, the mothers took the child 9 months in the womb. The father doesn't have to do that hard work. And as you get closer and closer to 9 months, it's not easy. And for your child, the mother give up a lot of things, their own well-beings, so that it doesn't hurt and damage the child. What they do, what they eat, they give up a lot of things. Even before our birth, while the child is in the mom, the kindness of the mothers, taking all the precautions, by knowing if I eat that, what might hurt the child, harm the child. And so they give up a lot of things they might enjoy in order to protect the child. They might not do a lot of other things that might hurt the child. So they give a lot of things, they enjoy doing it, but because if they know that it could hurt the child, harm the child, they give up all of that. And a lot of cases, they know that there is danger to their life when they give the birth. Still they take that risk. They might have to go to the operation surgeries. They might have, they might lose their life as well. And they are quite aware of that most time. but they take that risk for the child. For the child, they take that risk. That is a huge sacrifice. And then, whether it's a natural birth or whether you through the hospital, it's not easy when you give the birth, it's not easy. It can be painful and painful, but the mother does not, mm, get upset with those pain, but joy when they see the child coming. There's so much joy, even though they went through so much pain to give the birth, but there is so much joy and happiness to see the birth of the child. Even having gone through so much hardship, so much pain, that just shows the love, the kindness, the love for the child. Only if you have that kind of love, you can feel that way. So much joy, even after going through so much hardship, so much pain. If you don't have that kind of, if you don't have the love and compassion for the child, you will not feel that joy. Instead, you will be so upset. But you can see with any parent, especially the mothers, the joy in their face when they see the child coming, when they first get the child. That just shows the love, the compassion of the mothers. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't remember that. We forget all about that. All the hardship the mothers go through during those 9 months, the sacrifice they have given to us to give birth so that we are in this world now. The very reason we are in this world, whatever our situation, wherever we are, because of the kindness and the love and compassion of the mothers. So I think even just from this point of view, I think, mother is more kind than the father in that way. The father didn't have to go through this 9 months of difficulty and sacrifice that mom go through, the risk the mom put themselves. And then, once you are birthed and when you come, we don't know. Unlike like some animals, some animal, the moment after their birth, they can actually start to walk, even though, they might be still need the care of their parent, especially the mom, some animals, is taken care by both parents. Some you see, only by the moms, once father is no more involved after the birth, but it's the mom who kind of take care of the baby. And sometimes you see both parents taking care of the baby, even though the child, the animal baby, they need the help of the parent or the mother, but still some of them, they can walk and they can kind of start to be more independent. But we human beings, we cannot walk and we cannot take care of ourselves when you're born. We cannot eat ourselves. We cannot feed ourselves. And without feeding, we don't know how to walk. We don't know how to speak. We don't know how to express what we need, what we want, all of that, and we are extremely vulnerable at that point. If we have been left uncared, even for a few hours, we could be dead. few hours, we could be frozen to death. Easily. So that we are not frozen to death, we are still alive. That clearly shows our parents, especially the moms, have taken care of us. And then, as started to slowly open our eyes, slowly, we start to see things around slowly, we learn to speak few words. Slowly, we are able to kind of, express ourselves, what we need, what we don't need. Slowly, we learn to crawl and walk. And then we started to become more and more curious, Then you want to touch everything, but we don't know what then, Again, the parent has to be very conscious, very alert, watching all the time. Otherwise, I might be playing with the water, playing with the fire. That could put myself in danger. I could be playing with the electricity. That could shock me. I could be taking one stone and thinking it's something to eat it and choke it. I might just, we might just play with a knife without knowing it and cut yourself. Without knowing the edge, you can fall from the edge. So vulnerable at that point because we have a lot of curiosity and want to try, but we don't know what they are and put ourselves in danger unless your parent, especially mom, watching, careful all the time. All the time. And sacrifice their food is huge, Just the sleep, I always think about that, We cry throughout the night, 2, 3 times, 4 times. And you need to get up 2, 3 times, and that can go for many years. Nowadays, if someone wake me up middle of night every day, one time, I might be very upset and angry, to disturb my sleep. But when the child does that, not 2, 3, 4 times, sometimes even more, not just one day, weeks, months, years, So they give up their sleep, which they enjoy very much, or maybe they are even attached to that, the sleep, deep, nice sleep, and they give up that for the child, for the child's well-being. And so much sacrifice, so much. That is kindness. That is love. Slowly, they teach us how to speak, how to eat, how to sit, how to do things. And we learn slowly. We learn slowly. They try to provide us as best education they can possibly. Some family might be able to provide better because they have better, due to their karma, they have better conditions. Some family, because they don't have good condition themselves, they might not be able to provide as some other families. But everyone is trying their best for the best of the child. Whether it's education, whether it's whatever form of upbringings, always thinking what's the best for the child, for the well-being of the child, for the goodness of the child. Upbringing the child become priority than their own well-being. If there is any form of selfless service in our ordinary human beings, is the service or the sacrifice of the parent for the child. Because in that moment, they give up their own well-being for the well-being of the child. They might have for the individually, they might have a lot of things they want to do, but taking care of a child become more important at that time until they grow up and they are able to stand by themselves and become independent. Until then, parents give up whatever they want to do, but they give up all that until they bring the child. And such is, normally we are very selfish. Normally, we want to do what I want, whatever is best, whatever give me happiness or pleasure or comfort. But when it comes to child, most family give up those and focus on the child upbringing. And then when we become teenager, we become adult, and then we have our own mind, then we have a different view with our parent, parent says something and we say no. And then slowly we started to drift away. And slowly we forget their kindness. Slowly we forget their kindness. And what we remember is a few things they did, maybe not so great. Maybe they might have shouted at us a couple of times. Maybe they might have yelled at us sometime. Sometimes maybe they might have done something which we don't like. Sometimes they might not have been able to support us, something we want, and we remember all of that. We don't forget many of those, but we have forgotten everything they have done. Unfortunately, that is so, So here in these meditations, we try to remember the kindness of the mother again and again, reflecting, contemplating. It's important. And we're not trying to just exaggerate things, okay? In meditation, we don't have to exaggerate things. We just try to focus on the reality, how much they have done for us. How much they have done for us. Especially when we're most vulnerable. At the moment, to a certain degree, we are able to take care of ourselves. We are independent. But when we're not independent, when we are most incapable, when we are most vulnerable, without our parents and mothers' love, compassion, care, we will not make where we are now. We will not have survived. And that was not just 1 month, week, many years. Many years. So we shouldn't forget that part. At the moment when you are sick, okay? For the moment when we are sick and when we need help, when someone offers you a help, even for a week, how much appreciation you will feel, or sick or any other kind of problem or difficulty you are facing, and then there's someone who is supporting you in those difficult times, whether it's 1 week, whether it's 1 month, you will feel so appreciative, grateful, gratitude. You feel, I will never forget your kindness. We express that, we feel that. I will never forget your kindness, that you lend your hand, that you provide, that you give me the kindness and help when I was in most difficult time. Well, Imagine our parents, especially the mom, for those 9 months in the womb, mother's womb, and then after the birth, we are so vulnerable that we cannot do anything ourselves. We don't know how to take care of ourselves, and they were there for that time, fully dedicating, giving full time, that time, at least until we are able to, able to walk, able to speak, able to understand things a little bit. I think it's so important that we should never forget that. Sometimes we hang on something, and that happens to everyone, little bit more, less, even for most of us who grow up, and including myself, of course there are times when my parent was mad, because we were wild, sometimes you are wild and undisciplined, as a child. Sometimes they could get upset. Sometimes they can be angry because you are creating a lot of mess and, driving everyone crazy, um, and then sometimes they might have yelled at you. Sometimes they might have, you know, and uh, when I was growing, my father was very physical disciplinary, um, and that is where that was where he didn't know so much other than that. He didn't know much other way to discipline the child, the wildness of the child. So the way he knew was, some physical discipline, you know. And sometimes some of those physical discipline was not just as small, they were quite quite harsh, quite harsh. Um, and my mom was very loving, caring. At the same time, sometimes when she needs to discipline us, she was also ready to do that, and she did that too. Some of them I don't even remember. My mom used to say, my mom said, because I was always following her when I was very young, because she had to go in the forest to pick up woods and pick up the needle, what do you call, from the pine needles to food under for the animals and other things. She need to go in forest, but I used to follow her, and she can't take me and bring all the others wood, firewood, and needles. And so she will tied me my leg and tied it to the um, you know um, uh, to a pole so that I don't follow her. You know, of course, nowadays if someone does that, my mom will get in trouble. You know, uh, definitely she will get in trouble if she does that and someone report that. Um, I might have been taken away from her. You know, but that is what she had to go to the forest to pick up those to support the family, and she cannot carry me all the time. And so I was tied up, and not only tied up, sometimes um, there was a story, one time I was kind of following her, and then of course if my mom see me, then she will shout and she will beat me, and maybe she will take home and tie me up. So I try to keep a little bit distant while following her so she can't see me. And so then one time it seems, I was following for quite far away in the winter, and I almost died with frozen. Someone found me and they took home and with the blanket and put me by the fire. Otherwise I would have frozen to death, you know frozen to death, And so that's just example of why, my mom needed to kind of discipline me, because I'm putting the danger of my life, myself in the danger, and I put myself in the danger quite a few times. And that is the only way that she could have protected me, or there's a way that she could. And so, and that will be same, but of course, sometimes they can also lose their mind once a while, and also that. So those things happens, but I never think about thinking, oh, they have been so bad that they discipline me, and that, it doesn't occur in my mind, Do I support such kind of physical discipline? I don't, I don't encourage, I don't believe, but that's all. They don't have other way. They didn't know how other way to kind of discipline and protect your child other than that. And so it is out of their own compassions, kindness. And even though there are time, maybe once a while, maybe they could lose their mind, and they might have, given some physical punishment because of that. But those things happens, but very few times in your life. You can count those, How many times my mom has yelled at me, shouted at me, you can count. How much time my father or mom might have, punished me physically, they can be count. But how much love, compassion, care, kindness they have given me, it cannot be counted. It cannot be counted. They care and took care of me 24 hours, 7 days, weeks, months, years. So when you have so much kindness, care, love they have shown and taken care of you, and one or few times when they have not been, when they lose their mind and something like that, and you cannot just focus and hold on that and forget the rest of things what they did for you. We can't. But unfortunately, very sadly, I see a lot of people in the world, especially in the West, they forget everything their parent has done, good things, kindness, love, and maybe they remember a few things they did bad, and they hold on that, they hold on that, and as though your parent is what they did was just that one, thinking, your parent was very unkind, not caring, not loving. Why? Because you remember a few instances. You remember a few instances. And then holding on that as though that is the reality, that is the whole reality of who they are. And their how much they have taken care of you, you forget all of that. So I think it's so important. If we cannot feel, the love, compassions towards them, then it will be very difficult to feel love and compassion for other sentient beings. Someone who has given you so much, especially as mentioned, when you are most vulnerable, if you cannot feel for their compassion because they have made small mistake few times, and if you cannot let it go, if you cannot forgive for a couple of mistakes they might have made, even though they have done so much, how can we feel love, compassion on others? How can we feel love and compassion on others? There's no way. There's no way. So therefore, So that's where the teaching says, remember the kindness of the mothers, thinking it again and again and again. So in those 7 point of, as I mentioned, the 7 point of cause and effect training in Bodhicitta through the seven cause of point of cause and effect. So even though here teaching, it doesn't give all of 7 here, but of course the first is recognizing all sentient beings as being your most kind mother. That is the first point. Second point, remember the kindness of the mother. So we just talk about it. Third point, cultivating. Once you feel the kindness through meditating, reflecting, contemplating on all the kindness of the mothers, then once you feel the kindness of them, then you, of course, to repay the kindness will come more naturally. The wish to repay the kindness is the third point. Okay. So, and there are many different ways of repaying the kindness, of your mothers or anyone. When you try to pay the kindness to anyone, there are many different ways of repaying kindness. Of course, when your parents are sick, taking care of them, when they need other help, support, and when you can provide support and help, trying to provide support and help, emotionally, mentally, and if you have the resource and they don't have the resource financially, so there are many different ways of supporting in order to repay the kindness. But these are very ordinary way of repaying the kindness. Ordinary way of repaying the kindness. But more special way of repaying the kindness is to help them, encourage them, inspire them to work with their own mind. Whether you call practicing Dharma or not, but basically working with their own mind. So if we can encourage them, if we can inspire them, if we can support them, if we can help them to work with their own mind, because that is the best gift you can give to them. That's the best help you can do to them. That's the best way of repaying the kindness, because if once they know how to work with their own mind, then they will find really peace, happiness in their life. Because when they get angry, then they know they have the meditation practice method, how to stop the anger. And because they can do that, they have less anger. They can let go of anger quickly. So they find their mind much more peaceful and for a long time. When they are getting frustrated, impatience, whatever different that emotion that could arises, because now they have tools to deal with all those things. And then they can find more peace, more happiness in their life. And that is how we can help. And then, of course, from Dharma point of view, spiritual point of view, then, we help them to be on the path to enlightenment, on the path to achieve lasting happiness, true ultimate happiness. So we put in the right direction for them. So that is the best way of repaying the kindness. If we can do that in whatever way, So we try to, a third one, try to generate the wish to repay the kindness. And fourth one, loving kindness. So having understood that, the need to repay the kindness, and then once you feel that their kindness in the second point, as you reflect, contemplate, meditate again and again, as it mentioned here, then you feel their kindness. When you feel their kindness, then, you develop sense of loving kindness quite naturally for them. And the fifth one, compassions. The loving kindness, compassion is, quite similar in a way. The loving kindness is the wish to see them happiness and cause of happiness. Kindness, that is the loving kindness, and compassion is the wish to see them free from the suffering and cause of sufferings. And naturally, they says, Lama Tsongkhapa explained in his the great treatise or the stages of path, Lamrim Chemo, he explained in terms of this loving kindness, compassion, the wish to see them happiness and cause of happiness, the wish to free them from suffering and cause of. The sequences is not definitive. Sometimes you can have the compassion first, sometimes you can have the loving kindness first, and then the compassion, that kind of compassion. Or first you can have compassion, and then you can have loving kindness in terms of that. But here, when we talk about 7 cause and effect, each cause lead to the next stages of the practice and realizations. So here, the loving kindness is the cause, and the compassion the result, when you talk about in that way. So here, the loving kindness here is referring mainly by seeing other sentient beings in a more attractive way. So when you talk attractive, we are not talking about physical attractiveness, but in generally something pleasant, Because if you see them as your most kind, caring, loving mother, then of course it appeared very nice to you, that person appeared nice to you, And when that person appears pleasant and nice to you, then of course you will have that loving kindness naturally, and compassion arising very naturally. Okay. And then 6th one is, in Tibetan is laksam, but different translation use different words. Sometimes universal responsibilities, sometimes special attitude. And that is a state of mind. Once you have the great compassions, the wish to see them, wish to free them from suffering and cause of suffering, then again, taking more stronger attitude, cultivating a stronger attitude or responsibility by saying, not only I wish them to see them free from suffering and cause of suffering, but cultivating a wish or attitude to free them from suffering and cause of suffering myself, So it is more stronger. You are taking more responsibility, stronger attitude, because it is like, I want to see the world. I want to see the world. You can say, I wish and I want to see the world be peaceful, and people all have equal, and people who are not starving to death. That is a really good wish, isn't it? It's a wonderful wish. It's a wonderful thought. But you are just wishing. The next step is actually I'm going to make everyone not starving, so that actually you make even stronger, that actually you are going to work yourself so that there is no one homeless, there is no one who is starving, for example. Now you are taking responsibility to do that yourself. Similarly, that is what it is here. Laksam, the special attitude, is much stronger than the great compassions, because you are now taking responsibility, cultivating an attitude to take responsibility yourself to do that. So these are the 6 causes, As I mentioned, this according to this particular method of practice meditations, then is known as 7 point of cause and effect. So the first 6 are cause, and the 7 is the effect, the result. That is the bodhicitta mind, the awakened mind. And so once you have that special attitude through the practice of the 6th point, then now you have developed very strong attitude, taking responsibility that you will free all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering, that you will lead them to the happiness and cause of happiness. So that is wonderful that you have that wish, attitude. There is something worthwhile, something that is something that you inspire for, something you develop. There's nothing better, such attitude. If someone has such attitude, that person is wonderful, great. But can you do that? Do you have the capacity, ability to do that now? Do you have the capacity and ability to now, when you reflect realistically, at this point, then we realize I cannot do that. Even though I wish to do that, but I don't have the capacity and ability to do that. Forget about liberating all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering. I don't know even how to liberate myself from the suffering and cause of suffering at this point. Forget about liberating all. I'm confused myself. I'm lost myself in samsara myself. How can I help them to liberate from samsara? Because I myself is confused in the samsara. I myself lost in the samsara. And so once you realize, then as much as I really want to free them from suffering, but at this point, because I have so much, I'm also in samsara, totally confused, totally lost, totally overwhelmed by delusions, totally, controlled by karma. With this present conditions, situation, I cannot help to do that. I can only help them very limited way, but I cannot really liberate them in that way. So then how can I really help them to liberate from samsara and all the suffering and liberate to lead them to fully enlightenment? Who can do that? Is there any possible, if anyone can do that, then we see, if you become fully enlightened, then you can do that. If you can become fully enlightened one can only do that. Whether we call it Buddha, the fully enlightened one, because when you become fully enlightened, then you are not only free from samsara yourself, not only you are free from all the cause of the samsara, the delusions and the karma, you are free from all of the subtle obscuration, the obscuration knowledge. So you are free from all the obscurations. You have cultivated and developed all the positive qualities, all the realizations, highest level of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, highest level of wisdom. There are no more obscurations. Therefore, you are able to understand each individual's sentient being's state of mind, predispositions, their interests. So therefore, if you can understand other person's interests, their mind, their karma, their predisposition, then you can help them because you know what is the best for them, what they really want. According to that, then you can actually guide them, teach them, instruct them, help them in whatever their needs. So then you can really begin to be helpful. Not only you are able to understand that, then you have the ability, when you become fully enlightened, then you have ability to help skillfully without any limitations. At the moment, I want to help this person, this, but I cannot because I can't be here and there at the same time. Do you get it? I cannot be in Nepal and I cannot be here. So if I want to be helping my fathers directly, physically, I have to be in Nepal. If I want to help someone here physically, of course I can help from distant other ways, but physically. But when you become fully enlightened, you are not constrained by that. You have the ability to appear in front of every insentient being, whatever their needs, help. So you can simultaneously be everywhere. You simultaneously, you can be everywhere, so you can help sentient beings in that way. And so when you understand that, then, so as you study and reflect and contemplate and meditate, then you begin to, as you understand the qualities of the fully enlightened one, quality of the Buddha, the fully enlightened one, and through that, how much you can help benefit others, then naturally you feel like, I wish I could achieve that state. Do you get it? Then you feel, I wish I could achieve that enlightenment. I wish I could achieve that enlightenment as quick as possible, as soon as possible. Because if I can achieve that, then I can help so many sentient beings. Simultaneously, same time, so many sentient beings with a skillful means according to their needs, and then to be able to help them to free from some samsara, suffering, and cause of samsara and suffering. And then when you have that wish to achieve that enlightenment, driven by that great compassion and a special attitude, wanting to free some sentient beings, because you want to free all sentient beings from samsara and the suffering and cause of samsara suffering. And then you see, only if I can achieve that enlightenment, then you have the wish to achieve that enlightenment. That is called bodhicitta mind. The wish to achieve that fully enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, or in other words, in order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara and cause of samsara and lead them to fully enlightenment. The wish to achieve that enlightenment, driven by that or induced by that great compassion, that is called bodhicitta mind. Sometimes bodhicitta mind is mentioned, two inspirations, Dumbanjiden, two inspirations. One's inspiration is to benefit and help sentient beings, or to free from all sentient beings. The other inspirations to achieve the enlightenment for that. So there is two aspirations. One inspiration to free the sentient being from suffering and cause of suffering. The other inspirations is to achieve the enlightenment for that purpose. So sometimes you see in some of the scriptures, they explain that bodhicitta is the mind of two inspirations. So that is the bodhicitta. I think we went through the verse number 89 for that one, and that particular verse number 89 explain about how to cultivate and develop the bodhicitta mind through the meditation and practice of 7 points of cause and effect. And this particular method of meditation and practice is passed to Buddha Shakyamuni, to Maitreya to Asanga, and so on, in terms of the lineage from the Indian masters. Then finally, eventually Adishas, and from Adisha in Tibet, then through the Kadamba masters and Lama Tsongkhabas, and through the Lama Tsongkhabas, then, continue to come, and then, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, in our case here. So that lineage of this particular meditations and practice to develop the bodhicitta come through those lineage, pass through the Buddha Shakyamuni up to now. So, yeah, so maybe I will take some questions. I think I might have seen some questions. Let me see here. There is one which says, so when we talk about the bodhicitta mind, we are not necessarily talking about the mind that cognate, but the mind that feel, which is in the heart. In order to feel it, first you need to have an understanding, recognizing, So of course, bodhicitta mind is the wish. So it is a feel, it is the wish, the feel to achieve that enlightenment in order to liberate all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering. So I think here we try to make distinguish, but in Tibetan Buddhism or in Buddhism generally, the mind consciousness, they have no difference. I think I don't know, in Western term, whether I don't know whether there's a difference between consciousness, mind, all of that. But in when we studied in Buddhism, uh, the consciousness, the mind is the synonym, is same, it is the same, and the consciousness of the mind has the ability to feel, the ability to cognize, and so, and definitely, generally speaking, I think especially in the West, what I see is a lot of time, different teachers or scholars, they use mind and heart slightly different. They think the mind is the brain or the intelligence, the wisdom, and the heart as the mind that feels the compassions. But I think in generally, I think all the mind, the very root of the mind, the basic root is seated in the heart. So everything comes from that. Everything comes from that. And so all the different minds, different emotions, all come through that. So it arises from that. Yeah. And so then there's another question. Do you have any advice? I selectively see all sentient beings as my mother. I still have more challenging time with human. I'm having difficulties with animal, insect are much easier. I can see that. I can see that. And I think especially is interesting. That is one of the things that I have found or I've noticed, where in the West, especially in the West, people have difficulty with human beings. I don't know why. They seems to have no difficulty with the animals, but they seems to have difficulty with the human beings. And of course, here the Mary has put that caution, but I see that, I hear that very often. I observe that with a lot of people. Um, mm, the reason might be, because of course there is a lot of suffering in this world that is made by the human beings, okay, created by the human beings, and so therefore you blame the human being for all the sufferings that have been caused. Whereas animals, of course, they can create suffering, but not in a mass distraction that humans can do. One animal eat another animal, one animal attack another animals, one animal steal the food of another animals. They fight when it's time come for the matings. They fight for the males fight among themselves, uh, and all of that. But the pain and suffering is little bit, very smaller, in the sense that it doesn't affect the whole animal community or and the whole human being. But with the human beings, we have the ability to create a lot of distractions for a lot of people, a lot of animals, the planet itself. And so that is maybe why we have a stronger, or people have a stronger aversions to say towards the human beings than the animals. I guess maybe that might be one of the things, you know. But also we have to remember, also human beings have contributed so much happiness for the world than animal can do. So we cannot also forget that. We cannot ignore that part too. We have to be realistic. We have to be unbiased. We cannot just think how much damage the human being has done, but we don't think Just take one example of Buddha Shakyamuni himself. Over the 2,500 years, he have inspired and changed so many people's lives and continue to do that. Millions and millions of people, not just one centuries, more than 2,500 years for that. And he will continue to do that. And that is contributions of one human beings. Which animal has been done that? The animal cannot do that good as much as that. And so therefore also we cannot think human beings has the potential to be extremely destructive. Also they have the potential extremely good things. And so you cannot just focus on one thing and ignore the others. Just as there are some bad people, there are equally so many kind and compassionate people in the world. Sometimes we see some bad people, some bad leaders, then we think everyone is like them. We generalize everything like that. We often do that, which is totally wrong. And even those individuals who are not so kind, compassionate, and destructive, they have the potential to become the best persons. Just take an example of throughout the histories. Ashoka, the King Ashoka, the empire in India. At one time, he kills, I don't know million, but many 100,000 and 100,000s, because he was conquering all the countries around there, killing and killing and killing. Then later, in one of the battles, with one particular kingdom at that time, so much was killed from both sides in that battle. And that made him to think slightly different. And then he met the Dharma, then he converted to the Buddhism, Dharma, and then he gave up killing, he gave up kingdom, and he dedicated his life to spread the Dharma of non-violence and peace. And through his kindness, the Dharma reached in Sri Lanka, many other countries, Nepal, including many other countries. And then, in many countries, it started to become more peaceful, less violence. He changed it. He made huge difference, huge contributions. But at one time, he was a killer who killed so many 100,000s. But since he has that potential, when the right condition come, then he became the opposite, healer and spreader of messages of love and compassion and transform. So we have to remember everyone has that potential if they meet the right conditions. Even the worst person in this world, whoever we feel, we might have different person in our mind who is the worst person in this. I can see in many of your minds, including maybe who is the worst person. Probably I know one of the leaders. You might think that, but he also has the potential to become the spreader of the love, compassion, if he is met with the right conditions. If he is met with the right conditions. If he is in the right environment, right conditions, right advisors, right people, friends, circle. And so therefore, so we have to understand that. And anyway, so you have to feel, it's not about, of course, we cannot feel that everyone has been our mother, kind mother immediately. We cannot feel it immediately. But let's say one person you don't like or you feel difficulty. Do you know that he or has been your most kind mother in the past? Do you know that? If you don't know that, then unless you are 100% sure that he or she has not been your mother in the past. The reason why we don't feel is because we haven't meditated enough, contemplated enough. That is it. If we meditate, contemplate enough, and especially with those who we feel difficulties now, slowly, your mind will become, at the moment we have a lot of blockage, aversions, and then that will slowly become more, your heart will become more and more soft and more opening and more spacious, and then you might be able to feel that, so it requires more practice, more meditations. Okay, I think there are so many questions. I don't know. Yeah, I think.
There's one from Mark.
Yeah, I see many questions here.
It's not so many questions. It's mostly me blabbing about Angular Mala. Sorry.
Okay. Independent is again leadership. Another one. We have such strong karma with our current parent. Will we definitely see them in next life? Have we, or will we met our parent from last life? Definitely, definitely we have had a connection with our parent in the many times in the past, and we will continue to meet in the futures, continue to have the connections, strong connection, definitely, because one of the stronger connection we have in this life is our parent. Whether you like it or not, whether you have good connection or bad connection, doesn't matter, but we have a strong karmic connection. That is why we come in their life, or they come in our life, however you put it. So we have a strong karmic connection now, and definitely that connection will continue, and then we will also continue to have a connection also in the futures. Sometimes we might be able to recognize, sometimes we will not be able to recognize it, but definitely we will meet them again and we have the connections. Sometimes you can feel when you see someone, even if you are meeting for the first time, as though that you have met them, as though you have known them, so it comes from some connection from the past, even though we cannot explain exactly because we cannot read it. And sometimes when you meet someone for the first time, you have no idea, even you don't know, you have a strong reactions, dislike. You don't know why you dislike that person. There's no reason. You don't know anything about that person. You are meeting first time. But again, we don't know what kind of connection we had in the past, but there's definitely some connection from the past that is leading us to that kind of reactions. So definitely we have met our parent in the past many times, and we will continue to. And so also that is where we say in that, not only all sentient beings have in meditation, not only we meditate on all sentient beings has been our mothers, but all sentient beings have our mothers many times. Actually, in many of the scriptures, it says they have been our mother countless times. Each of them, each and every sentient beings has been our mothers countless times. But even if we have difficulty with this concept of countless time, but definitely they have been our mothers many times in the past. They will be our mothers many times in the future as well, until we stop the samsaric birth. Even after samsaric birth, as a bodhisattvas, if you decide to come to the world in order to benefit, still you have to take a mother. You don't have to take mother because you can actually manifest it, but also you could come from the mother's womb as well, and so then also you will be meeting the mothers again. So that is related that questions, and then there's okay. What? Yeah, then I think there was one who wanted to Tibetan words of 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I don't know whether it's necessary, but because but Chamba is the fourth, 5 is the Nyingje, and then 6 is Laksam, and 7 is the Semke or Changjugi Sem. So those are the. So I think that is all. So we do the dedications. Okay. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and the mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depressions. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. And again, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.